This video is about trying out a HTV heat press from HTVRONT. It's a 10 by 10 really nice compact heat press to use with the heat transfer vinyl. Now, they contacted me a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was a good idea because I had, a lot of people interested in that 15 by 15 press that I did a video about a couple years ago. So I thought this would be a good alternative when you don't want to drag that press out. And I told them sure, send it, and there's what it looks like. It looks like basically a giant iron. It has a nice plate to sit it in. And it does come with some really nice instructions on it. And then I asked them to send me an assortment of their vinyl also to try with it. And they sent me like a assorted pack here that does contain many different colors. And it also has a Teflon sheet you're supposed to use between the press and the vinyl. And it does come with a little weeding tool that goes in there. So I figured, that way I get to try it all out together here and see how everything works. And there you can see there's a really nice assortment of colors there. And it looks to be fairly simple to use, just set and use basically. So they're the colors that were included in the assortment. And a couple of my grandkids are over, so I decided to try making some shirts for them, and we did some artwork. They helped me work them out, and we came up with exactly what they wanted. And I let them pick the colors that they want. And then I just, I'm using my Cameo 3 to cut this. And you see I put the collar side down so I can weed from the back. And it's a simple matter of just, doing the artwork and just hitting the load button. That's a self-adhesive backing pad that it goes on. And you do have to make sure that you mirror it when you send it to the machine because it has to be backwards. And in the end, I wound up with a 10 force, 5 speed, and 1 pass as being my optimum cutting for this material. Yours may be different, and I know they do recommend different, but this is what worked best for me, and everything cut perfect. So this machine does do a little jig and make a lot of noise when it cuts, but I've been using it for a couple of years now with no problem, so you can see how easy it is to cut out this vinyl. And it did look like it cut really nice. And then it's time to weed it out. Now I gotta start the corner there, get things coming in. One thing I did notice about this material is the adhesive that they use to hold that backing, the vinyl to the backing, is like too strong for the most part, but you can work with it. And it does make it a little bit tough weeding. And my granddaughter helped me weed this out. She was helping me make the t-shirt all the way through. So we just got things going there, and you really do have to give it a really good yank to get that off of there. But all the artwork did stay in place and stuff, so it wasn't that bad.
Keep pulling. Go slow.
And it did cut extremely clean with the Cameo, and I did have a fairly new blade in it too. So you can see it did take us a while. It was really sticky, tough to pull off, but it did weed out perfect. No bad cuts or anything else. It took us a while. So we got that all weeded out, and that's how that came out. You can see, it really did come out nice. And that was my granddaughter's design, and then my grandson wanted a different one, and just want to show you this cut's real easy with a just a standard roll cutter. And I don't know if you'll notice what's wrong here, but this brain fog from COVID does have a tendency to get in the way of life sometimes, and you can see I put that down on the cut sheet there with the face up, which was totally wrong, so to ruin that piece, and I'll have to go back and cut another piece now. And that's the way it should be whenever you cut this.
Okay, start pulling.
And the same thing, we're going to go back here and weed, and
both ways. You start pull a little bit over here.
it really does take a, quite a bit of force on this. Some of it's better than others, but it does weed nice and clean. So there's the other artwork. And you can see they're just about the size of the heat press. I wanted to try to keep them to that size. It's really easy to use. I plugged it in over here in our appliance outlet in the kitchen just to make sure there was enough power. And I set it at 320, 15 seconds. And another little thing in there is the force that you're putting on it. And I've used those one of those insulation pads from my 15 by 15 press to protect the countertop there. And you have to kind of make sure whatever you're putting it on has been pre-washed and dried, and 100% cotton is really the best. And then use the press here to kind of warm it up, locate the sticker, and then you're supposed to put that Teflon transfer pad over it. And start the timer there, and then when you push down on it, you can see there's a pressure gauge. You can see how much force you're putting down, and I was trying to keep about 35 pounds of force on it just to, see how it worked out. And this was my first time using it, so didn't know if there'd be any surprises. And that little plate to put it on is really nice. So, this is a lot easier to use than dragging out that big 15 by 15 press to do a couple t-shirts. And I let it cool for 5 minutes. I went back and decided to pull it off. And here again, you can see where that vinyl, whatever adhesive they used on that, really does stick good, and does cause some issues with it trying to stretch out the cotton material on it and make a vinyl bunch up a little bit every once in a while. But this one wasn't too bad. This one did come out pretty nice. So the press actually really does a wonderful job. It's lightweight, easy to set, easy to use, and for this I use the high end of the recommended temperature, and you can see it worked perfect. And there's the finished shirt.
You like it?
Yeah.
She liked it.
Oh, I love the color.
Now to finish up the other shirt, my grandson's shirt, same thing. I put that insulation pad in there to protect the counter, and gonna flatten it out a little bit, and you can see it's been pre-washed and pre-ironed, and kind of center it where you want it. Try to get everything nice and square, and use a kind of the collar to square it up to. And there we go. Put that pad on it, and then start the timer and watch the pressure gauge. Put the pressure on it. And this one was a little bit bigger, so I'm just gonna just move it around just a little bit there. And then when you watch the timer count down, I actually gave it a couple seconds more this time. And there's the second shirt. So you can see how nice, this is. If you're just going to do a couple shirts, you just, it only takes like 5 minutes to warm up to get up to operating temperature. And, here we are peeling it off. And again, you just you let it cool down for a while, and then you just peel it off slowly. And you have to really keep an eye. If you see anything lifting or pulling or anything, you can always hit it with the press again. But the glue on this transfer paper here is, really sticking good to the vinyl, so you have to be careful. And you can see you can make up a t-shirt, and it takes a while to do the artwork, but it only takes like 2 minutes to actually apply the artwork to the t-shirt once you're ready to go. And this will work on other items too, anything that's cloth, bags, or anything else. So it's really a nice size. And there's the second shirt. Now I decided to, I want to do 10 more shirts, and I decided to come up with some designs for the back of them, and cut them all and weed them all. And here they are. I cut 10 different collars and 10 different sayings to put on shirts. And the only one I really had a problem with was this green one here. I don't know if you can see the adhesive on there, but that took me probably 45 minutes to weed that one out. That glue was so stuck, it was little tiny pieces at a time. So I'm going to say you may have some problems with the green material. And then I went on Amazon. I found 10 Gildan t-shirts for $23. They were a little bit big, and they were, not the color I wanted, but I figured it would be good to try in case something went wrong. So here we are. I'm going to do the first one. I set the plugged it in and warmed it up, and it takes a good 5 minutes to get up to operating temperature, starting with it at 320 for 18 seconds. And this is the first transfer I'm going to try. And this is the black, and actually this is the material that worked the best and transferred the best. So just kind of, try to get it lined up exactly where you want. And I used the ironing board this time so I could flop it over and get everything good and squared up. And this time I decided to try it without that Teflon sheet. They don't recommend you do it, but that's how I do it in my other heat press. So I just wanted to see what would happen. And you can see it's a little bit bigger. And I did find out in the end that this press really has about an 8x8 area in the center of it. That is the proper temperature. And as you get to the edges, it seems to cool off a little bit. So you have to move it around on larger artworks to make sure everything gets done. And let's just see what that looks like. That looks good. So I'm just going to let that cool down for 5 minutes, go back, and this one here, this is how the HTV should peel. You see how easy it's coming off? Now it's not tearing the fibers in the shirt or anything. Well, that one was perfect. That was the black, and that's how it should work. You see, I did get a perfect shirt out of that, no problem. And now we're going on to the next shirt. Same thing. I'm putting that pad in there. And you really don't need the pad with the ironing board, but I find out it's nice to make sure you got a nice flat surface to work on. And also, if you're doing double-sided, you have to be careful if you have vinyl on the other side already. So again, preheat the material a little bit, and these shirts have all been pre-washed and put in the dryer to dry. Make sure they're all pre-shrunk. And then this is the one that gave me trouble weeding, and you can see there's still a lot of glue on the transfer paper. But I figure I'm going to try it anyway. Worst that can happen is, I lose a t-shirt. So again, this is bigger than the press, so I'm just going to move it back and forth a little bit. I tried putting in one spot and then moving it to another, but it seemed to be, get the heat evenly when you just move it slowly a little bit, and keep about 30 pounds of down pressure on it looking at the gauge, and watch it time out. Now it turned out, just wanted to check it and see what we had. Turned out the glue on that was so strong that it was tearing the material right out of the fibers of the shirt. So I figure I'll go back and try heating it up again and see if I can really get the material buried in the fibers. And that's one thing, if you see any problems when you're peeling it or anything, you can always throw the Teflon pad back on and go back and heat it up and get it in the shirt. And again, it's kind of a problem there. I can't get it to come loose, and so I'm just gonna, you can see how it's just curling right up with the thing. So I'm just gonna run over it a couple times there and put it aside for 15 minutes, let it get really good and cool, and see what happens while I work on the other shirts. It is a pretty color though, so hopefully we can straighten it out, and I'll show you later how I did. And again, I just continued on, and I'm going to bore you with all 10 shirts now just to show you how this works. And I did have it running for, I'd say, about 2.5 hours by the time I got all done and making the video and stuff, and no problems at all. It seemed to hold the temperature. And this one I put on, and then I, gave it a couple minutes to cool. And you see, this one wasn't too bad at weeding. Came out pretty good, but there were a couple of edges that didn't look like they were properly seated in the material. So I'm just going to run over it a couple of seconds quick here. And you can actually see once it gets down in the material. So I'm just going to run over that, and you can really, when you look at it, you can see that, make sure that everything's down in the material, and you can kind of see that it's pushed right down in so it won't come off. So let's speed it up a little bit here and work on a couple more of them. And at this point in time, I did actually turn. It was taking too long. It seemed like it wasn't melting in. I did turn it up to, I think it was 230 or 235, which didn't really make much of a difference. So I had to go over some of this a couple times to. It seemed like each material, each different color of vinyl, took different time. So what you really have to do is kind of work out, what it's going to take for the material you're using. And as you can see, I could go back over it and no problems if it looked like I didn't quite do it long enough. And you just keep going until it looks like it's all bonded into the material properly. One thing I did find out though is for doing 10 shirts like this, you're probably better off to have a big, there it is, 330 I set it on, and you can see there's where the pressure comes up in the time. But for doing big shirts like this, you're probably better off to drag out the heat press if you're going to do 10 shirts at once. Sure does make it quicker and easier, but for for doing a couple at a time, this thing is really handy, I think, and it does do a good job. Just it's only got about an 8x8 working area. I'd say that really does do a good job. So do have to move it around a little bit, and takes a little bit longer. But in the end, they all went on, and as I said, this is the vinyl that I'm using. It's all different colors. If it was all the same vinyl, I think they probably would have all, happened in the same time. But all the different colors seem to take a little bit different time as you're going along. And you can actually grab it like that to put more pressure on also. And you can get up to about 40 pounds, I think that gauge goes up to. So that, allows you to control how much pressure you're putting on. And there you go. I kind of moved it a little, stopped, moved it a little, stopped. And, it didn't really matter what technique I used. I kind of got the same results every time. And you really can see when it's not 100% in the material. Just go back and do it a little bit more. So now we're going to go back and start peeling, and this is where that glue does, cause issues. It kind of tries to tear apart the cotton threads, and the vinyl just gets stretched between them. And you can see how much force it's taken. That's about all the pull I could put on it. So just, you just have to take your time and pull it off, and just make sure that there's nothing stuck on the backing paper. If there is, start pulling from the different direction, and then go back and heat it again. And there I had a couple little edges that weren't quite down right, so I'm just going to go back and make sure it's all bonded in there. I have to do another video just using the same vinyl on it. I've got some other vinyl that I use that peels nicer, so I'll do another one in the future. And the same thing here, just to You know, it does peel off, but just the force is really high for the material. And I'm not sure if I might have got a defective batch or what, but it does work in the end, though, if you're careful and you just go back and make sure you flatten everything out once you're done. But usually this, this backing paper just slips right off of there just about. But the colors are beautiful, and the material does, seem to bond into the fabric really nice. Whenever you use this HTV, you have to turn the shirts or whatever you have it on inside out when you wash them too, so that the material doesn't get rubbed on other garments, I guess, in the washer. And I'm just going to go through and pull a bunch of these off and show you that. Just have to be careful, but it will eventually come off, and you can go back and just touch it up with the heat again to fix anything that gets kind of pulled out and stretched out. And most of these designs, I kind of copied stuff off the internet that I had found. So, it's easy to find artworks and stuff like that on the internet that work with the Silhouette software. Now, here we are back to that treble one, and that did take quite a while. It's like super glued on there. And I wound up having to cut that backing into pieces just so I could pull in different directions so I wouldn't rip the vinyl right out of the cloth on the shirt. But you can see it's just definitely this green one was definitely defective or something. But I was bound and determined to save it, so I just took my time, and it did take a really long time to get that off of there. But eventually I was able to do it, and you can see I had to cut it in pieces. And all the vinyl, some of it was ripped out of the cloth and stuff. You can see it's all loose and stuff like that. But no problem. If this happens to you, it's easy to go back and to fix it. Just put the Teflon pad on there, and I did another 18 seconds. And everything came out good in the end. It bonded it right into the cloth, and no problem at all. So there you can see, everything's bonded tight, looks good. Now it's time to do the front of them. I got a little logo I'm going to put on the front of them. This is where this press really shines. It's something that's smaller than the press, and it fits right in the middle of it there, and you can just hit the timer, put your force down on it, and let it time out, and it does work easier on smaller items. And again, I've got that heat pad between them now, especially because I've got vinyl on the back already. And that one came out good, and it's time to... I did some white and I did some silver. And, this thing is trying to get things located. And just putting some force on them, and as you see again, you can hold it two different ways. You can hold it on the handle with one hand, or two handles on the side to get extra force. And you just hit that button, watch it time out, and really simple to use. That tray that you put it in when you're not using it really works good. Doesn't get hot or anything. No melting or burning or anything. So, like I said, I had this running for about 2.5 hours, and no problems with the tray or heat on anything. And you can't really see it there, but that's where the force shows up right there in that little red thing. And it's time to peel, and the white peeled pretty good. Came out nice, you can see. And then the silver, I actually had trouble where it actually... the glue on the backing was too strong, and it kind of tore some of it out, stretched it out, so I had to go back and hit it with the heat press again to fix it. But in the end, this really did a really nice job. If it, had been better vinyl, I think it would have been much quicker, but I did get it done, and I did wind up doing 12 shirts with it. No problems at all. And here you can see the finished shirt. So, even if you do have problems, just figure out how to solve them and keep on going. So now I've got 10 new gardening shirts for this summer. And, it was a fun experience, and I definitely, do say that it's a nice machine if you're not going to do a lot of parts at once. So I want to thank HTVRONT for sending this out and, allowing me to try it, and just show you that really is a good alternative to other ones out there that cost like 3 times as much. And, this press does work perfect, no problems whatsoever, and it did run for a while with no problems. Now I'll put some links in the description. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.